Hi guys, welcome to another video on the 90-gallon Reef tank. You'll have to excuse the water clarity as I just recently cleaned the glass and that's why it's not very clear. I just wanted to give an update on how the tank is going. Everybody's doing really well. I did add some new corals and even some new rocks if you haven't noticed from the previous video, and it's looking amazing. You'll notice the fish are eating really well. They're currently eating some nori seaweed. They get this every evening after a hefty diet of Reef Frenzy, that's frozen food consisting of mysis shrimp and multiple other types of seafood. They absolutely love it. They eat very well. I am planning on adding new fish soon, but I want the bioload to have a chance to just really establish itself. You know, you don't want to add too many things at one time because it can really just overwhelm all of the bacteria. And this tank is doing so well that I'm kind of afraid to add too many fish. But the next fish that I'm planning on adding are probably going to be a flame angel, a 6-line wrasse, and something with a vibrant yellow. I just really want more colors, and I definitely want to focus on smaller fish. I feel like this tank already has some larger species. But for now, let's focus on the corals. I really wanted to talk about the new things that I added over the last couple of weeks. Again, I apologize for the water clarity. I really did just clean the glass and it does not look that clear. But this rock down here in the corner, this is more green star polyps. This came from the same established tank that I brought the original island from. And I really just cannot get enough of this GSB. It's just the way that it moves, the intense coloration, it's so stunning. I cannot get enough of it, and if it wants to take over the entire tank, that is fine with me. I mean, just look at this movement, and you can tell that it's continuing to grow all over this rock. This rock is extremely established, which is awesome. And it even came with these zoanthids. I didn't ask for these, I went to pick them up, and I noticed as he was placing them down in the bucket that these were there, and I was like, oh my gosh, at first I didn't really care too much for them. But as I look at them further, I'm absolutely in love. There's just something about them. They're this nice orange color. They're nice and light, but they're just really interesting, and I'm glad that I got them. Before we talk about the other new additions, I want to talk about the toadstool leather. He is the funniest coral I think I've ever had because he is so moody. He's not retracting his polyps or anything like that, but when I tell you every day this guy looks completely different. So just for example, this was filmed one day ahead of this video. And then this is the following day, and you'll notice here in a second when I zoom in, he's kind of like gearing more toward the green star polyps. It's like he's competing, or I don't know if he's just reaching toward the light, but I'm probably gonna have to move him a little to the left because this thing is definitely gonna take over that rock, and we do not want that. But it's still a stunning piece. I love the way that the water movement goes over the polyps, like you'll see there. It's so gorgeous. This next coral that I added the other day is called waving hand coral, waving hand Anthelia to be exact, and it gets its name because as you'll see it kind of just waves back and forth and it looks like a creepy hand. However, these things do not transport well, which is why they look so ugly right now, but as time went on they did start to open up, and so you'll see this next clip here. This is from the following day and you can actually see more of their polyps. It's more like closed, but I would say overall it looks better than it did the first couple of days. Much like the green star polyps, a lot of people will say to watch out for these because they will quickly take over the entire tank. I want it to completely cover this rock, and if it wants to take over, that is fine with me. Here you'll see the devil's hand coral, otherwise known as the finger leather coral. I did have to move him from the rock that has the waving hand coral now on it because his polyps just were not staying extended. He kept getting covered in his slime coat, which indicated that he just wasn't doing well. And he didn't just do this once, he did this several times throughout the week, and it just wasn't a good situation. So he now has more flow. He looks much happier over here, much more open. You can see his polyps, and I think this is going to be the spot where he's going to stay. Another coral that I'm really excited to introduce is the Kenya tree coral. Now these guys will also completely take over your tank. They grow very easily. It is damn near impossible to kill these things, but they are so stunning. They look like trees, hence the name Kenya trees. This guy's really small right now, but in time he'll grow, and I decided to place him in the center of the tank where that big cave is because I think that big pink right there is just going to really pop and stand out, and he's directly under the lights, dead in the center, and I think it's just the perfect spot for him. So you'll notice that a common theme in my tank is a lot of movement, and that is what I was going for from day one. I do not enjoy SPS corals. I do like a lot of LPS, and eventually we'll get there, but for starting out, we're just gonna stick with softies. So everything's doing amazing. Again, here's the mushrooms that I showed last week. This is them a week later. So you're gonna notice as I zoom in here that they're already growing more mushrooms. There are 3 new ones in total, one there at the bottom, and then there's one here at the top. Look at this cute little guy just popping out. He's probably gonna start growing up on that rock, and I'm really excited to see how it all looks. But these things are just absolutely mesmerizing. I mean, you cannot deny that out of everything in this tank, they really just stand out. And here in a second, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a view of the side, and you'll see another one that's popping out from underneath. These things are super easy to care for. They will also quickly take over the tank, put them on the bottom, and they'll just be super happy. This is a view of the Gorgonian. This guy was really hard to film. His polyps just did not want to come into focus, so excuse the really poor lighting conditions. A lot of people will say these are difficult to care for, but I completely disagree. This is a photosynthetic species, meaning that he will grow just from light alone. You can feed them, which will increase their growth rate, and I do plan to do that soon, but for now, he's doing awesome. Moving on to the most controversial part of the entire video, I live 10 minutes from Tybee Beach. I live on Wilmington Island, Georgia, and my family were visiting over the weekend with one of their small children. And while we were there, he ended up bringing home this really cute hermit crab. This is a long-wristed hermit crab. I have done my research. I know the island, I know the inhabitants, and this is my 8th saltwater tank, so I have no doubt that this is totally fine. But this guy he was too cute. I didn't want to drive him all the way back to the beach. So I was like, you know what? He can just live freely in the tank and not constantly fight to survive and get attacked. He agreed that his name was Tony, so that's what we're going to call him. But I added some more shells into the tank just to make him comfortable and be able to switch as he grows. And he switched into one within 20 minutes, which tells me that he was really unhappy in his old shell, and he's much happier in this one. He's doing amazing. And now that we've discussed all the corals and Tony, let's talk about the equipment on the tank. I did not talk about that enough in the previous video. I do apologize, but we're going to talk about it here. So the light system that I use is very well known. I'm using the Kessel A160s. There are 2 of them on the tank. They are ran with a timer, which you'll see soon. These lights are super powerful. I only run them at 60% intensity maximum throughout the day. They are on a lighting schedule, so it's like sun up and sun down. The coloration, I don't think I put it past 35. These things will make your tank absolutely blossom. They are very powerful, great for SPS, which I do not have. Since this is a softies only tank, we're keeping the intensity and coloration low. And I just lied, you'll see there's a 45 scale there on the coloration. But definitely recommend these lights. They are a bit on the higher end price-wise, but they're definitely worth it. As far as current goes, we are using the Aqua Illumination Orbit 2. This thing is extremely powerful. I do not run it past 40% speed for good reason. It would completely blast the entire tank, and honestly, combining this thing with the power of the return pump and the sump, which only runs at about 20% speed, this thing is way more than what the tank actually needs for soft corals. It is very, very powerful. You will not have dead spots. Your tank is nothing without a good power head, so definitely invest in that. But overall, this tank causes me absolutely no stress. I thoroughly enjoy coming home every day and taking care of it, which is very minimal if you've done it correctly. And I would highly recommend this hobby to anybody. I mean, there is just nothing like having a piece of the ocean in your home. When I was first setting this tank up, I talked to the guy that helped me out, and I told him, I was like, this is my 8th saltwater tank. I know the stresses that this hobby can carry, but with the amount of knowledge and experience that I had, I was confident that I could have a tank that would bring me nothing but peace, and I finally achieved that. If anyone ever has any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will gladly reach out. All I ask is that all comments be kept respectful of others and myself. I know there are a lot of times when YouTube can get pretty brutal. I really don't want anything to do with any of that. I would like to think that nobody else wants that trauma in their life. So for the sake of coming to this channel to watch something that should bring you nothing but peace, please let's keep it that way. But thank you so much to everybody watching. I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed the video. And until next time, good luck with everything.